La nostra è una mostra che cerca di fare delle cose piccole di qualità che hanno sempre un senso anche culturale didattico. La nostra è una mostra che si dipana su una superficie di quasi 1000 metri quadri, che la rende la mostra del settore più grande d'Italia, attraverso 12 aree tematiche divise in 10 stanze, dove nel nostro piccolo cerchiamo di raccontare la storia del rock attraverso oggetti, attraverso strumenti musicali, attraverso dei live. Per esempio abbiamo fatto un concerto di lui di John Roth, storico membro fondatore e chitarrista degli Scorpions, a Tellina, e anche lì è stata una grande sorpresa perché era pieno. La Mostra Rock è nata quasi per gioco, da un'idea mia di Michelangelo Iossa 4 anni fa, ci sta riservando sempre delle grandi sorprese. Ricordo quando venne Pete Best, il primo batterista dei Beatles, c'era lo stesso pubblico di oggi, Paul Whitehead, l'autore delle copertine dei Genesis e dei Van de Graaff. Quindi diciamo evidentemente abbiamo intercettato una fetta di grandi appassionati di musica rock, ma qui non si parla solo di musica, si parla di arte in generale. Rock è un linguaggio, rock è uno stare insieme, rock può essere Pasolini come Dalì, come Paul Whitehead o Mark Wilkinson. Quindi ci speravo e ogni volta che vedo queste cose penso che quello che stiamo facendo ha un senso.
In the conference we have talked about the need for jewel case, for something very particular now for the cover. The record company are doing something, should do something very special for the student.
Yeah. I think they should. It's the only way that they're going to battle the download generation. I'm getting young bands, very young bands now. I mean, one for example, late last year, they wanted a design for a cassette, and I said, who's got the equipment to play cassettes anymore? But they love the idea of a physical thing to hold rather than just download. I mean, you have all your you have your entire record collection on a mobile phone, and my mobile phone is no different to your mobile phone or to anybody else's, but my record collection is very different to yours. My vinyl, I might buy special editions of a particular album, and so it becomes a lot more special to the audience if they feel that you are giving them something a little bit different. Special editions and books with the CDs in, and LPs used to be single, then with Sgt. Pepper they introduced gatefold, and then Topographic Oceans it was 3 panels, all kinds of things, and it makes it more interesting as a designer to work on projects like that than just a crappy little jewel case, because they're not like jewel cases, they're not jewels, they're plastic crap that you get on a plastic box that you can get on the front of a magazine now. So the perception is that they're cheap, and that's why the music industry was so short-sighted, I think. It looks absolutely beautiful. See Napoli and die.
Allora, noi abbiamo suonato per l'occasione oggi, infatti avrai notato, se hai sentito, che eravamo strumentali, perché c'era una piccola speranza, almeno un sogno nostro, di poter invitare Fish a cantare con noi sul palco, quindi avevamo lasciato il posto per lui. Solo che ovviamente lui è venuto a fare autografi, a presentare il disco, il libro di Wilkinson, quindi non è stato poi il caso di chiamarlo seriamente. La mostra l'ho vista allestire perché ho preso parte
di questo successo di gente, di partecipazione.
C'è un discorso io sono un gran fan dei Marillion come te da secoli, insomma, li seguo da quando ero bambino, perciò poi ho tutti questi dischi. Insomma, noi tendiamo sempre un pochino a boicottare i Marillion, Fish, il progressive in generale, però come hai potuto vedere dall'affluenza di persone oggi, che c'è uno zoccolo duro invece di amanti del progressive, dei Marillion, di Fish, che sono proprio persone che li seguono dovunque.
Hi Fish, is there any interest in you about the war since 30 years ago and now? You are interested in war?
In war?
In war and in the problem that...
Always interested in war.
Why you have this kind of interest with the problems of mankind and
I think if you turn on the news, you'll find that there's a war going on in Syria, there's one just happened in Libya. There's one that looks like it's going to start in the Ukraine. So it's I'm looking at it as being quite a current topic, war, really. It's depressing, actually.
Okay. And what do you think about yourself? You consider yourself as a protest rock singer?
Not really. I'm an angry man.
Okay.
No, I mean, there's things that makes me really angry, that concern me, and I try and write about them. I try and avoid being apathetic, you know, which is, in this day and age, is very, very hard when most people around you are apathetic. You know, it's difficult, but it's huge issues that we just ignore, you know. I mean, I still think we're in the equivalent of being in a car that's heading towards a very big wall at a very fast speed, and nobody's bothering to talk to the driver. Zzz. You know? I'm not going to change it, and I think in reality we're pretty far down the line, and it's going to be difficult to change. When the crisis happened in the Philippines, do you remember that? Remember that huge disaster in the Philippines that nobody talks about anymore? That was the very first time on the TV when they actually showed the storm damage and everything, and somebody said global warming, maybe it's time. And that was the first time. And I think, you know, when you look at what's been happening in America, what's been happening in the UK with the floods, what's happening with the incredibly mild climate we've got, you know.
And what do you think that music can do now if the music business is not so good, as you know? It's a business, music business is changes, it's very changed since the last 30 years. So what do you think that also if you speak about environmental problems, world problems, you as a
I don't know what to do. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a scientist, and I'm not a politician. It's like, I'm just aware that I'm a gardener, you know, and I'm very aware that my garden at home is going crazy. It doesn't know what to do, and it's and I think when you look at that in the broader picture of things, it's quite scary. You know, as I said, I mean, you know, I come from Scotland. We didn't have any frost this year, right? And you know, I'm not going to change that. It's the big corporations that are going to change that. And the big corporations are not interested in listening to me because they're more interested in listening to their shareholders who want more money. And I think, as far as I'm concerned, that the sooner we have a major world problem, right, the better, you know, because until we are either invaded by Martians or there's a virus that wipes out half this planet, or something else, or a major technological disaster where electricity disappears, or something, we ain't gonna wake up. We're just gonna carry on doing the same shit. And I used to get very, very angry about that, and I still do with a few drinks, especially after limoncello. That always makes, they call it limoncello, fucked up. What's that?
We note a very great difference between 13 Star album and this one.
But this one I took time. I went to Vietnam, I went to Cuba. It was interesting going to Cuba, because when I was in Cuba, I kind of saw, I was like watching where Europe could be in another 10 years, 20 years, where, like, you know, in city centres, people are getting taken about in carriages with horses, you know, and like every area of the cities and the towns is like, people are growing vegetables. Like, because in Cuba, because of the embargo, they're not able to, like, they don't have a lot of petrol, they don't have car parks, they don't have a lot of timber, right? They don't have a lot of basic things, and they have to work with limited resources. And I think that's what's going to happen to Europe, right? And I honestly believe that we need to develop a far more socialist way of thinking and get away from this American conservative capitalism. This kind of, like, it's a plague, you know? It's a plague. I mean, now you've got me going. Which means that across society, there's a big gulf happening between the rich and the poor. And you don't have to look very far back in history to realise that when there's a huge gap between the very rich and the very poor, there's two things happen. There's either a major war and there's a revolution, right? But I'm not going to change it, because the people that really change it, they don't want to listen to what I'm saying, right? Right? And the people that are going to change it are out there in the streets, and eventually they will change it, you know? And it's like, all I can do is just say, you know, we've got a fucking problem, deal with it. you know. And like I said, it's going to take something huge, you know, for us to suddenly wake up and go like, wait a minute, fuck, you know.
We have to close the interview.
Yes,
so
yes.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Ciao, 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 ciao.